All right, today I want to go over the 20,000 emails that were recently subpoenaed and released from the Epstein estate because everyone is talking about this right now with good reason. And I want to pick out the 21 most interesting, damaging, and shocking revelations because the story of Jeffrey Epstein, his ties to Donald Trump, his level of global influence, and the implications it all has for the country and the world has now been blown wide open. Let me start off a little bit differently here. Rather than simply diving in right away, I want to begin with a sort of index glossary of names. There's a pretty hefty number of people that we need to be familiar with before comprehending these emails. So, at the very start, right now, I want to go through one by one and explain who these people are so that if at any point someone doesn't remember or I say a name that they don't recall or aren't familiar with, they can come back to the beginning and find out who that person is, why they matter, etc. Here we go. First, obviously, is Jeffrey Epstein, financier, trafficker, well-connected socialite, and the main subject of the video. He was arrested in 2006, again in 2019, and he died under suspect circumstances in 2020. If you want to know more, there's a bunch of prior videos in a playlist down below, but yeah, I'm sure pretty much everyone is already familiar with who he is. Next is Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell was Epstein's right-hand woman, if you will. She helped facilitate all of his activities, participated directly in the trafficking and the abuse, resulting in a conviction. But after a special interview with the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, she was moved to a minimum security holding facility with special treatment as well, and is now allegedly seeking clemency from President Donald Trump. Obviously, logically, Donald Trump is next. Pretty sure everyone already knows who he is. But his wife, Melania, is also a kind of important figure because she's currently embroiled in a potential lawsuit with an author named Michael Wolff after threatening him with a $1 billion defamation suit in an effort to force retractions on some of the claims that he made about her and Jeffrey Epstein. Michael Wolff, as we just said, an author who wrote extensively about Epstein and conducted a number of interviews with him, supposedly something like 100 hours of footage, is a journalist and author closely connected to the Epstein story, who has not only made explosive claims about things he allegedly saw, but also embedded himself in the controversy by targeting President Trump repeatedly. Moving on, we have Landon Thomas Jr., a New York Times journalist who is also relevant to the situation, highly. But I also think it's worth mentioning that from 1994 to 1998, Landon Thomas was an asset manager at Morgan Stanley. He's not just a journalist, he's also a finance guy. Next up is Steve Bannon, former chief strategist at the White House during the first 7 months of Trump's 2016 presidency, which is very important. Then we have Catherine Rumler, former White House counsel to Barack Obama, 2011 to 2014, and Larry Summers, former Secretary of the Treasury, Director of the Economic Council, and close personal friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Still not done, there's Bill Clinton, former president, Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, and then Linda Stone, who is a former Apple and Microsoft executive who reportedly idolized Epstein. Her name comes up in the emails as well. Almost done. Last three names. Tom Barak or Barrick, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, private equity and real estate guy who's done extensive fundraising for President Trump, also serving as the senior advisor on the 2016 Trump presidential campaign, chairman of his inaugural committee, and now current United States ambassador to Turkey. There's Vitaly Churkin, former Russian ambassador to the United States, and lastly, Thorbjorn Jagland, former prime minister of Norway and secretary general of the Council of Europe. There's a few more names here and there, but those are the ones that we need to fully understand because the 21 most interesting or damaging emails specifically refer to, come from, or are exchanged with one of these people. With that fully out of the way, let's dive right in. 20,000 emails have been released by House Democrats and House Republicans, in a complete mess, by the way. The formatting is terrible. It's just, they're all over the place. But those emails are now being dissected by the internet at large. Thankfully, there is a searchable database that was put together by Courier, which I'll link down below for anyone interested. So the process of finding and sorting out relevant versus irrelevant emails becomes much easier. And after doing precisely that, these are the top 21 things that I believe are most interesting, damaging, and shocking from all of them. Here we go. Number 21. This is an email from Jeffrey Epstein to Landon Thomas Jr., New York Times journalist, in 2015, after Landon Thomas said that everyone was coming to him thinking that he had juicy info on Epstein and Trump. Quote, read the BuzzFeed Read My Airplane Logs and Hawaiian Tropic contest, / have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door. End quote. Not the most salacious thing in the world, to be honest, distracted by young women in a pool, but I figure we might as well start slow at the beginning. Number 20. Contained in the very same email thread about how people assumed there was juicy info, Epstein also says, quote, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" End quote. Still nothing explicitly wrong with that per se, but certainly a step up in severity. That is, Epstein offering ambiguous or potentially compromising photos of Trump to a reporter. Number 19. This is where things get much more complicated. Donald Trump has long maintained that he split away from Jeffrey Epstein entirely in the early 2000s. There's been multiple contradicting reasons directly cited for that breakup, let's call it, but all of them occur between 2004 and 2007. At least, that's what we've been told. In an email thread from an unknown redacted sender as of 2017, a visitor was on their way to Epstein's house, notably the second floor of Epstein's house, which is where prominent victim Virginia Giuffre specifically indicated the massage tables were, and the bedrooms with cameras were documented in evidence photographs, aka the place where abuse occurred. This unknown person went to meet him as part of an exchange where they ask for a door code while Epstein says that the house is more private for a meeting. And then suddenly, quote, "I'm at the door, but I will wait for my time. I don't want to come early to find Trump in your house," end quote. And keep in mind, this is 2017, nearly a decade after the two had supposedly parted ways. Number 18. This is an exchange allegedly between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein. Reading, quote, from Epstein, "Prince Andrew and Trump today. Too funny." Bannon, "Recall Prince Andrew's accuser came from Mar-a-Lago." Further down, "Can't believe no one is making you the connective tissue," referring to Epstein. To which Epstein then replies, "F and B only," end quote. Seemingly speaking in code, I guess. I'm not entirely sure what to make of that one, but I certainly thought it was interesting. Number 17. This is an exchange between Kathy Rumler, former White House counsel to Barack Obama, and Jeffrey Epstein in 2014. Quote from Epstein, "You need to talk to boss," Rumler responds. "Agreed, but I need to be prepared to say yes before I talk to him." Epstein again, "Understood. It comes down to high risk/reward, low risk/reward, professional, emotional, and financial." After which Rumler responds, "Most girls do not have to worry about this crap." And Epstein says, "Girls? Careful, I will renew an old habit." After which he lists off some of the world's most powerful businessmen and politicians, saying, "You are a welcome guest at any. Also, if you think there are interesting people in town, everyone here for Climate Summit, Clinton, Security Council, holy shit, I'm on or next 30 minutes, end quote. One thing I should mention right now before going further, these emails are absolutely full of typos. Epstein and multiple of the people that he regularly corresponded with had precisely zero regard for proper grammar, so if it sounds like near gibberish at times, that's just what the emails look like. Anyway, careful, I might renew an old habit in reference to girls is certainly a little bit suspect when it comes to the most prolific abuser in human history. Number 16. This is another exchange between Rumler and Epstein on a thread titled "Donald Trump's High Crimes and Misdemeanors." Rumler says, quote, "It makes no difference whether it was his money. Issue is failure to disclose. Plus, fact that he has lied his ass off about it makes clear that he knew it was illegal." To which Epstein responds, "You see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip," end quote. That particular thread is probably about the criminal cases that Trump faced in New York, presumably, but the idea of Jeffrey Epstein saying, "I know how dirty Donald is," should make even the most devout supporters raise an eyebrow. Just to hammer that point home, number 15 is an exchange between Larry Summers and Jeffrey Epstein in which Epstein says, quote, "Recall I've told you I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous," end quote. Ideally, at this point, the gravity of the situation is beginning to present itself, but we are truly, genuinely only just beginning to scratch the surface of how bad this is getting. Number 14. This is another chain between Epstein and a redacted correspondent, which says, quote, "It will all blow over. They're really just trying to take down Trump and doing whatever they can to do that." To which Epstein replies, "It's wild, because I am the one able to take him down," end quote. Let me pose a question here. Why is it that Epstein, at the end of 2018, shortly before he was arrested the second time and then died under suspect circumstances, why is it that he's explicitly saying, I'm the one able to take him down, about the sitting president of the goddamn country? Just food for thought. Now for an even crazier one. Number 13. How many people remember this right here? The weird Bill Clinton painting that Epstein had with a blue dress and red high heels? Anyone? Okay, well, keeping in mind that this painting was owned by Epstein and hanging in his Manhattan home, let's take a look at this particular email thread between Jeffrey Epstein and Mark Epstein, his brother, in 2018, which says, quote, "How are you doing? All good, Bannon with me. Ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. And I thought I had Cirrus. You and your boy Donnie can make a remake of the movie Get Hard. You mean Donnie T," end quote. For the sake of clarity right now, just in case anybody didn't pick up on this, he doesn't say if Putin has photos. He says if Putin has the photos, implying their definitive existence. And Bubba, by the way, is one of Bill Clinton's nicknames. I have absolutely no idea what these emails actually mean, but I can certainly see why the Trump administration is so very desperate to stop the release of the Epstein files. This is a nightmare for them. Number 12, a simple email from Michael Wolff, quote, "There's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner you great sympathy and help finish him. Interested?" End quote. Number 11. This one is with Linda Stone in September of 2015 and says, quote, "Wondering if the fact that so many people are on antidepressant, ADHD, and other drugs is what makes Trump appealing and his flaws invisible. Will you have a cabinet position?" She's asking Jeffrey Epstein if he'll have a fucking cabinet position with Trump in 2015. After which she also says, "Do you think he can win? Speak, please. What do you think?" To which he replies, "Too far to tell. We will know much more come October 15th. But then, after she asks, "You still in Paris?" Epstein says, "Trump Tower." Keep in mind, we have been repeatedly told to believe that the two separated completely sometime in the early 2000s. But if that's true, why would Epstein's close friend be asking him whether or not he'll have a cabinet position while he stays at Trump Tower? Number 10. This exchange is between a Qatari businessman, I believe, named Jabor Y, and Epstein, where he says, quote, "In Paris today, headed for New York. Trump gives many new things to do," end quote. Once again, casting a very long, very deep shadow over the idea that these two men parted ways a decade earlier and never spoke again. There's a lot of corroboration that that tale, that story, that talking point that they've been giving for like 20 years is not true. Number 9. Once again, Epstein and this Jabor Y person, quote, "Sorry, I just checked your email. What time you will leave to the airport? I hope you are in a better place now than New York. Sorry, yes, Palm Beach, all Trump people here," end quote. Again, 2016, all Trump people in Palm Beach, but somehow the president knows nothing about him and never spoke to him since 2004. None of it adds up. Number 8. This is between Epstein and Tom Barrack or Tom Barack, however you say that. Closely connected fundraiser and senior advisor to Trump's campaign. Just keep that in mind. This thread is from 2016. Quote, "Hope you are well. Photos look good. FYI, I receive many calls a week about both Donald, beauty contest, Mar-a-Lago, etc., and Clinton from reporters. Less so recently with Clinton, but my answers are always, I have nothing to say, or I try to ignore altogether. A few times I've been ambushed on the street with questions, but I am more careful now." Followed by, "Send photos of you and child. Make me smile." Sure, that could be innocent. Send a few wholesome family photographs, but A, this is Jeffrey Epstein that we're talking about right now, and B, this is communication about Epstein refusing to answer incriminating questions between him and Trump's own senior advisor in 2016. 7. Good old Landon Thomas comes back around here with an email exchange that appears to be warning Epstein, reading, quote, "He is digging around again. Not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version. Was asking me all sorts of questions about why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he is doing some Trump-related digging too. Anyway, for what it's worth," end quote. Why on earth is a New York Times journalist warning Jeffrey Epstein and giving him a heads up that someone is looking into him and Trump. Why is that happening? And why is that happening at that time during that year? Number 6, Landon Thomas to Jeffrey Epstein, quote, "He is scaring the shit out of me now. He could well tank the global economy. Can Barack talk sense to him anymore? Maybe it's time for you to jump in now. Given how he is throwing caution to the wind in such epic fashion, why wouldn't he take your call? Give it a shot." To which Epstein replies, "He feels alone and is nuts. I told everyone from day one, evil beyond belief mad, and most thought I was speaking metaphorically. It's obvious he could crack. Stormy Daniels, lies after lies after lies," end quote. The world's most notorious sex trafficker, okay, directly referring to the sitting president as evil beyond belief. Number 5, inexplicably, apparently emailed to himself from another account he controlled, Epstein sends a very long list of names. Rothschild, Rumler, Churkin, Schumer, Rockefeller, some names we know, some names we don't, across a wide range of political affiliations and business sectors. But that email is titled List for Bannon Steve, and it was sent in June of 2019. 1 month later, Epstein faced his second arrest. I don't know what that list is for. I don't know all the people that are on it, right? I don't recognize all of these names, but I can tell you that this is a tiny little fraction of the files that are being withheld from the public, and that the level of discrepancy between what we now see in black and white correspondence versus what the current administration has been incessantly claiming is unignorable. They are not telling the truth. Number 4, now for some of the most damning things, okay? In a 2018 email thread between Epstein and Thorbjorn Jagland, we can see, quote, "I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight on talking to me. Vitaly Churkin used to, but he died." After which Epstein continues later, "Churkin was great. He understood Trump after our conversations. It's not complex. He must be seen to get something. It's that simple," end quote. Let's get something straight right now, okay? This is email evidence in 2018 of Jeffrey Epstein, who has repeatedly claimed explicitly to hold compromising information about sitting President Donald Trump, talking to the former Norwegian Prime Minister, and saying that he coached Russia on how to handle Donald Trump. I don't care who you are or what politics or loyalty or affiliations you have. That's a fucking problem. Number 3. These last 3 are some of the most common. They're the ones that mainstream media have been fixating on, I guess, the most. But there's a very good reason for that. From Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, quote, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Virginia spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." To which Maxwell replies, "I've been thinking about that," end quote. Number 2, email to Michael Wolff, quote, "Blank," Virginia Giuffre, we know that because of context now, "Blank worked at Mar-a-Lago. She was the one that accused Prince Andrew. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop," end quote. And then lastly, number 1, the big cheese, from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein at the end of 2015, quote, "I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards." Epstein replies, "If we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be?" Why the fuck would they be able to craft an answer for him is the real question. And then finally, quote, "I think you should let him hang himself if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House. Then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt." Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and he's gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime, end quote. Those 21 emails, okay, I'll just let people kind of mull over and unpack those for themselves. Those 21 emails, although in proper context, I am absolutely positive that there's more, let alone the rest of the files that are being suppressed and withheld, but by this overtly corrupt administration. Those 21 email threads, let's call them, are the notable standouts of the latest Epstein document release that I saw. And if you go back across the saga thus far, these emails make it abundantly clear, overwhelmingly clear, that pretty much everyone involved has been lying through their teeth the entire time, and that the truth is absolutely horrific for Donald Trump. Like I said before, this is a developing story across many months that I'll talk about to the bitter end over and over. But for now, that's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below, a special VPN deal, locals and Patreon, channel memberships. I'm trying to move more in that direction as opposed to ad revenue, so check those out if you want to, and more, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, question everything, and have a nice night.